Welcome to Crash Test Hockey. Just some news ramblings for you today. Starting with the signing of Tom Wilson. Signs a 7-year deal at $6.5 million AAV. Coming off a 6-year deal at $5.2. He's 29 years old. He'll have a birthday in March. And he has a modified no-move clause for the next couple seasons. It's like 15 teams. And the couple seasons after that, it's 10. Oh, I don't know. Not a lot of people are are happy with, or let's just flip that. A lot of people are quite happy with his agent and the contract he was able to get him. Maybe he's overpaid by a little over $500,000 per season, and that term. Oh, if I'm the GM, the Washington GM, what am I thinking? Maybe, after Ovi leaves and they're really in a rebuild, Wilson will help keep the flies off the kids. And at some point in time, they eat half his salary and get some, draft picks, prospects kind of thing for him. The cap will be going up, etc., etc. Still, it's not the greatest contract. He was injured for a lot of last season. He played only 33 games, 13 goals, 22 points, minus 13. Season before that, in 78 games, 24 goals, 52 points. He's hit the 20-goal mark 3 times in his career. He only played 1 playoff game before he got injured. And in 83 playoff games, he's got 31 points, 14 goals. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. Jake Guentzel is out a minimum of 12 weeks after an ankle surgery. He will miss at least the first 7 games of the season. He's 28 years old. Last season, he had 36 goals, 73 points in 78 games. If you happen to be in fantasy hockey, this might be a bit of a steal pickup around the 7th round or so, or you can stash him because he's pretty consistent in putting up 25 plus goals, 70 plus points per season. Next, we'll get back to Pittsburgh in a second. Columbus. Babcock was on the 590 sports show from Sportsnet, and he admits to some mistakes that he made in Toronto. I didn't listen to the whole podcast, broadcast, whatever. Should this guy be coaching? What do you think? I believe everyone should get a second chance. He was kind of a D-bag in Toronto, right? And even worse so in Detroit. Now that, all those stories came out, with fans and etc. I don't know. I'm sure the fans and the media will keep this guy on a short leash and watch him quite closely. But that's another reason why he signed in Columbus, to stay away from the media as much as he can. So see how that progresses through the year. It'll be interesting. Let's see if he actually has grown as a human being. Back to Pittsburgh. I'm missing vowels and consonants here. Back to Pittsburgh. Kyle Dubas assumes the role as GM. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, nobody's surprised. Now, there's talk that maybe he was trying to bring Prindham, his former assistant GM, who's now still the assistant GM back in Toronto, over to be his GM. That didn't work as he wanted to, so he just took the role himself. I think the chances of that were slim to begin with. Who knows, maybe Toronto didn't allow them to speak to him or offered Prindham more money, or maybe a little wink wink, your future, you could be looking at a bigger position with us. I'll let you work out what you think I mean by that. Next, let's talk about Edmonton and the hiring of Jeff Jackson, a former player agent, as their new CEO. Why should you care? Well, he used to rep McDavid, and he's hired as a CEO, so Holland will be reporting to him, and he'll be reporting to the owner, Daryl Katz. Now, Holland has gone on record saying he doesn't know how much longer he'll be doing this, maybe another season, and that's it. And could Jackson take over for him? Pull a Dubas, play both roles, or just, hire his own guy, whatever. But it looks like a long term. Now, he used to be an assistant GM with the Toronto Maple Leafs back in, I want to say 2005-ish. And then 4 years later, he helped establish the, Wasserman Hockey Agency. Now he's passed over McDavid to Judd Moldovar, who takes over. And Moldovar also happens to be Austin Matthews' current agent. So let the silly rumors start swirling there. Is McDavid going to Toronto, or is Matthews going to Edmonton? Yeah, okay, I'll just stop talking about that. Now, let's chat about Philly real quick here. Ryan Ellis, looks like his career is over. No surprise to anyone. It's so weird. He gets traded from Nashville after a great career. It was 2 or 3 seasons ago. Only plays like 4 games. And that's it. That's so sad. And he's got like 4 years left on his contract at 6.25 left. Now, the good news is that Sean Couturier, 2 back operations, and Cam Atkinson, neck surgery, are both going to be ready for training camp. Those are pretty major operations. How much of themselves are they going to be once they arrive? Speaking especially to fantasy hockey players out there, maybe they're like late draft steals, like around 15 or so. And if they don't go, maybe you keep a very close eye on them and grab them as a flyer at some point early on, the first 2 months, see how they do under Tortorella. Let's move on to Anaheim, and let's talk about Troy Terry, the 25-year-old. He'll be 26 in September. Signs a 7-year, $7 million extension with the Ducks, coming off a 3-year, $1.45 million deal. Wow. In 2021-22, he had 37 goals, 67 points in 75 games, a breakout one for him. And then last season, which was a bit of a dip for him, he had 23 goals, 61 points in 70 games. First off, I like the deal. When I first looked at it, though, I was like, he feels like he's around $500,000-ish overpaid. But at that kind of term and at that age, he's at least probably going to put in 20 goals a season. He has the potential to hit 40 once or twice. So I like it for Anaheim, especially now that they're slowly getting better. And the latest out of there, too, is that it looks like Zegras is trying to get a contract going for them as well. Moving on to Boston. An arbitrator gives Jeremy Swayman a 1-year, $3.48 million deal. He's 24 years old. He'll be 25 in November. Had a great season. Or it's been great for Boston in general. The Bruins had an option for him for 2 years, and they didn't take it. Now, he will be an RFA at the end of this, but I can only assume that the 2-year deal would have been for a higher AAV, and because they're at a tight cap crunch right now, they had to just kick it down the road. Swayman had a 9.20 in 37 games. For the Bruins last season. If you think that was an outlier, it wasn't, because the season before in 41 games he had a 9.14. A season before that in 10 games a 9.45. In the playoffs last season, he only played 2 games, an 8.75. Playoffs before that in 5 games, a 9.11. This kid should be a keeper, and he's probably going to make even more money next summer. Sticking with the Bruins, Trent Frederic signs a 2-year deal at $2.3 million AAV. They settled just before arbitration. Now he's 25 years old. He'll be 26 in February. Bottom 6 guy who's great at dropping the gloves. Although I don't remember him fighting too much the last couple of seasons. Maybe that's because he's good. I also don't remember him ever losing a fight. So there's that. Now, he had 17 goals and 31 points in 79 games, but I think that's a bit of an outlier. I mean, that team was just disgustingly good last season. I think the Bruins will be happy if he can at least get to 15-ish, right? He is coming off a 2-year deal at $1.05 million. Lastly here, let's talk about the Minnesota Wild. Filip Gustavsson, who had a great season, signs a 3-year deal at $3.75 million. Now he's 25 years old. He just had a birthday in June. And he was fantastic last year playing duo with Fleury, wasn't he? In 39 games, he had a .931 save percentage. In 5 games in the playoffs, a .921. So what's the bad news? What's the but in all this? Last season with Ottawa in 18 games, he was an .892. The previous season in only 9 games with Ottawa, he had a .933. I know what you're saying. I can hear you. Goalies are voodoo. This isn't that much money. I think it's a safe bet for Minnesota. Hopefully it goes well for him and he doesn't jump off a cliff in terms of his numbers for the following few seasons. This could turn into a really big steal. Fleury obviously has 1 more year left on his contract. That's a great guy to be mentored by. The only thing is that Minnesota only has about $1.6 million left in cap space, and they still have to sign Kalen Addison. And there seems to be a bit of bad blood there, because I think he did them a solid by not signing with bonuses. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Minnesota fans. And they said they would get him on his next contract, and with only $1.6 million left, maybe it's only a 1-year deal and they just kick it down the road a little bit. But I think he was pretty peeved when he was scratched, especially in the playoffs when the GM traded for John Klingberg, who I think most Wild fans would say gave them anxiety attacks every time he came near the puck. I'm a Toronto fan, and I'm scared, so I hope he proves me wrong, but yeah. In any case, that's the situation. I would love to hear from you what you think about these signings down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Andy and Rono, Jay Fresh, and Dom Lucian for the use of their charts. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm, obviously. And smash that subscribe button if you happen to be new to the channel. I'm a stay-at-home dad. This is sort of my gig. So if you'd like to support me and the channel, you can do that through my crowdfunding site called Buy Me a Coffee. You'll see a link down below, or you can just find it on my profile YouTube page. And hope to see you soon.